Yesterday against the New York Islanders. We lost. I could be more upset about this loss than I am. This loss felt like we played sloppy, to be sure. The Islanders played better, and the Islanders played this brand of very Lou Lamoriello type type of hockey, where they really didn't make a whole lot of defensive mistakes. They were sloppy at points. At points, they were a lot of blocked shots. Um, they basically played sort of a similar kind of trap hockey as to the system that John Tortorella had in place for the Jackets for some years, with a lot of blocked shots, a lot of defensive positioning, keeping three guys back at the blue line. Um, Unlike the previous games, this was more like a game that just wasn't our game. It was also kind of a boring game. There were times when there were chances, but it's the sort of the trap kind of system that the Jackets played under Tortorella and since then have kind of gotten away from, which limits the amount of stuff that's going on in the game. Um, they sort of lock down the game and not that much happens, and I found myself drifting off and not paying as much attention as I have been for most of this season, when I've been for the most part pretty locked in, pretty closely paying attention. I was a little bit having a hard time just keeping myself in, trying to watch the play, trying to see how guys were playing. It- for the most part, this the soporific nature of the game kind of applied a little bit to everybody. It was hard to watch things. I can't really single out that many players to talk about. Um, I'll talk about one guy who has just continued to impress me, uh, which is Ivan Provorov. Um, that guy's a great player. He's doing a lot of the thing. He's a pretty stay at home kind of defenseman anyway, caring about his defensive positioning all the time. But he's really good at getting into passing lanes, blocking shots, uh, keeping in position. So he played quite well, I thought. Spencer Martin was good. You can't pin this loss on Spencer Martin when you don't score any goals. Um, Spencer Martin had a couple of mistakes, but I expect nothing from Spencer Martin. I don't think Spencer Martin is really a long-term NHL player anyway. By all means, Spencer Martin, if you're watching, prove me wrong. But I don't expect anything about Spencer Martin. So I'm always surprised when he plays well, and I think that's just, nothing but positive. Nothing really bad to say about Spencer Martin and the way he played. Um, the Islanders were just a better team in this game, and that sort of leaves a question about whether the Jackets can be a better team against some other really good teams. The Islanders are a team that not everybody even thinks is going to be a playoff team. They play, this if they play on top of their defensive game like the way they played yesterday, they are going to be a really good team that's going to win a lot of games, and make the playoffs. Um, but if the Jackets want to be a playoff team, they have to beat teams like this sometimes. And you can imagine the bounces going the other way. The Jackets played a a, a fair game. They played a pretty strong defensive game. Um, but the Islanders played better in all of those respects. Um, It would sting, I think, a lot less if we had won those two games that we should have won against Anaheim and Montreal, where the Jackets were the better team. But the Jackets were not the better team yesterday. They got beaten by the better team, and that happens sometimes. I think they put really good effort out against Anaheim and Montreal, and then the effort was more average against the Islanders. And you understand that that is going to happen sometimes. You're not going to have the highest level of effort every time. It'd just be nice to win some of these games as opposed to get those loser points for those other ones. Dmitry Voronkov still hasn't shown me that much. Kent Johnson was back in the lineup. I thought Kent Johnson looked okay. I'm not sure how Pascal thinks Kent Johnson looked. Marchenko has to play. Eventually, I mean, you could send Marchenko a message by saying, okay, you need to, you need to play better. You need to have more energy. You need to be in defensive position more often. Otherwise, you're not going to play. But Marchenko has to play. He's got to get time to reestablish himself, and he will. Yegor Chinakhov is going to be back pretty soon. That could also give the Jackets an energy boost when he gets here. That'll create some good problems as to who's going to come out of the lineup so that Yegor Chinakhov can come in. And you don't want it to be Olivier because you want to have role players like this, but Olivier has not impressed so far. He's been fine, but Olivier's skill ceiling is just not that high. You want him on the ice as a role player, and you're taking away some a roster spot from somebody else that you also might want to see playing. And eventually Patrick Laine is going to be back too. So all good problems to have if you're having to move people out of the lineups that you don't want to move out of the lineup because they're good players. But these guys have to start producing. Yeah. Islanders a better team yesterday. Tomorrow in Dallas. We've historically done well against Dallas, so we'll see how that goes.